Stop everything you're doing right now because something has shifted in invisible threads that connect you to the person your soul recognizes. And this shift happened so recently that the energy is still moving through the ethers between you, still rippling outward like stones dropped into still water. And you felt it even if you didn't name it. That sudden catch in your breath, that unexplained heaviness or lightness in your chest. That moment when you looked up from whatever you were doing and felt the air change around you, as though someone had just walked through the room, even though you're alone. What I'm about to share with you isn't about predicting the future or making promises that sound beautiful but feel empty. This is about reading the energetic signature of a decision that was made in the last 15 minutes, a choice your soulmate confronted when they were standing at their own crossroads, perhaps not even fully aware they were choosing, perhaps thinking it was just another ordinary moment in an ordinary day. But the angels who watch over both of your paths know better. They see how this single decision is a hinge upon which so much will swing open or close, and they've been trying to get your attention, try and make you pause and listen, because what happens next depends partly on whether you can feel into this moment with clarity rather than fear, with openness rather than protective walls you've built from all the times before when you hoped and were disappointed. The reason you're here right now, reading these words at this exact moment, isn't coincidence. It's because some part of you, the part that exists beyond logic and skepticism, felt the tremor in the connection and went searching for confirmation, for language to describe what your body already knows. And I'm here to give you that language, to help you understand what this shift means and why it matters more than you might realize. Because in the geometry of souls finding their way back to each other, there are moments that look small from the outside, but are actually threshold crossings. And this is one of those moments. If you're feeling this pull to understand, if something in your heart is saying, yes, this matters, then stay with me through what I'm about to share, because by the end you'll have clarity about what this decision means and what your own next step should be. The decision your soulmate made wasn't dramatic in the way movies have taught us to recognize important moments. There were no swelling violins or rain-soaked declarations. It was quieter than that, more internal, the kind of choice that happens in the pause between thoughts, in the space where we decide whether to reach out or pull back, whether to trust or protect, whether to let someone matter or to keep them at the distance where they can't hurt us. And your soulmate has been living in that space for longer than you might realize, caught between what they feel and what they fear, between the recognition of something real and the memories of everything that went wrong before. You see, soulmate connections aren't always immediate embraces. They're often more like two flames that sense each other across darkness, drawing closer and then retreating, moving in patterns that look like hesitation, but are actually a kind of sacred choreography, a dance of energies that are so powerful they need time to learn how to be in the same space without burning everything down. And your soulmate has been in this dance with you whether you've been in physical contact or not, whether you've spoken recently or are separated by silence and distance, because a connection exists in a dimension where physical proximity is just one variable among many. The decision they made in the last 15 minutes was about permission, about whether they would allow themselves to move one step closer to the truth of what they feel, or whether they would choose safety over authenticity, comfort over growth. And here's what you need to understand about this moment. Your soulmate is terrified not because what they feel for you is weak, but because it's so strong it threatens every defense mechanism they've ever built, every story they've told themselves, about who they are and what they can handle and what kind of love they deserve. The angels who guide soulmate connection see this fear with such compassion because they know it's not a character flaw. It's the natural response of a human heart that has been broken before, that has learned to associate deep feeling with deep pain. And your soulmate's journey toward you has required them to slowly, incrementally dismantle the armor they put on to survive, piece by piece, decision by decision. And what happened 15 minutes ago was one of those pieces being removed or, depending on which way they chose, one of those pieces being reinforced. And I'm going to help you feel into which one it was, not through fortune telling, but through reading the energy that's been moving between you, the energy that speaks louder than words ever could. Now we come to the part that might be difficult to hear, the part where we acknowledge that just because a decision was made doesn't mean the outcome is guaranteed. Just because your soulmate stood at crossroads doesn't mean they chose a path that leads directly to you, at least not in the timeline you've been hoping for. And this is where so many people stumble, where they either fall into despair thinking it's over or fall into denial thinking everything is fine when the energetic truth is somewhere in between, somewhere more nuanced and more real than either extreme. The tension you're feeling right now, this tightness in your solar plexus, this vibration that feels almost like anxiety but isn't quite, this is a feeling of two timelines existing simultaneously. The one where your soulmate's decision brings them closer, and the one where their decision creates more distance. And both of these timelines are real possibilities hovering in the quantum field of your connection until the energy fully collapses into one reality or the other, and your awareness, your emotional state, your own choices in the hours and days after this moment. These things matter more than you've been taught to believe. If your soulmate chose fear in that moment 15 minutes ago, if they pulled back or shut down, or decided once again that it's easier to stay in the familiar patterns, even if those patterns are lonely, if they texted someone else or distracted themselves or told themselves a story about why this connection isn't what they thought it was, you need to know that this isn't the final word. It's one choice in a long series of choices. And the trajectory of a soulmate connection isn't determined by a single moment, but by the accumulated weight of many moments, many decisions, many small acts of courage, or small acts of retreat. But if your soulmate chose courage, if in that moment they decided to send a message or make the call, or simply allow themselves to sit with the feeling of wanting you instead of pushing away, if they let themselves admit even privately that this connection matters, that you matter, then what you're feeling right now is the leading edge of a wave that's about to reach you, maybe not today or tomorrow, but soon, in the way that energy always eventually translates into physical reality, into words spoken and actions taken and presences shared. The reason this moment 15 minutes ago is so significant isn't because it determines everything by itself, but because it's an indicator, a sign of where your soulmate is in their internal process, and whether they're moving toward readiness or away from it, toward openness or back into protection. And you deserve to know this not so you can manipulate or control the outcome, but so you can make informed choices about your own energy, your own heart, your own path forward. If this resonates and you want to understand more deeply what your specific situation is calling for, make sure you're following this guidance through to the end. Because what I'm about to share about the angelic perspective will change how you see everything that's been happening. The angels want you to know something that might sound strange at first, but will make perfect sense once you let it settle into your awareness. They want you to know that your soulmate's decision 15 minutes ago was actually a response to your energy, to a shift in your own vibration that happened before that, maybe hours or days before, a moment when you released something or claimed something, or changed something in your own relationship to this connection, and what your soulmate felt and responded to was the energetic ripple of your shift, reaching them across whatever distance separates you. This is how soulmate connections actually work beneath the surface story we tell about who contacted whom and who said what. There's a constant conversation happening in the realm of energy and emotion, a dialogue of souls that never stops even when mouths are silent and phones are quiet. And in this dialogue, you're never powerless. You're never just waiting for the other person to decide your fate. You're always actively contributing to the field of possibility that exists between you, always broadcasting your own frequency, your own readiness, your own fears and hopes and boundaries and offerings. The angels see your soulmate not as someone separate from you making independent choices in a vacuum, but as someone deeply entangled with your energy, responding and reacting and resonating with what you put out into the invisible space you share. And this means that the decision they made 15 minutes ago is actually information for you about what energy they encountered when they reached toward you or thought about you or fell into the space where you exist in their awareness. If they pulled back, what were they pulling back from? What vibration did they sense that felt too intense or too unstable or too dangerous? And I ask this not to blame you, but to empower you, because if their retreat was a response to chaotic energy or desperate energy or energy that says, I need you to complete me, then you have the power to shift that, to come back to your center, to remember that you are whole with or without this connection manifesting in the way you hope. If they move closer, what were they moving toward? What frequency did they sense that felt safe enough or magnetic enough or aligned enough to risk one more step? And can you maintain that frequency? Can you stay in that place of groundedness and openness and self-possession that makes you a lighthouse rather than a storm for someone who is still finding their way through their own darkness? The angelic realm doesn't see the separation between you and your soulmate as absolute. They see you as 2 points of consciousness within the same field of love, affecting each other constantly. And they see this moment of decision not as something that happened to you, but as something that happened with you in response to you, in the dance with you. And when you understand this, when you really let yourself feel into the truth that you are always part of the equation, never just a passive observer, it changes everything about how you move forward from here. It restores your sense of agency and dignity and creative power in a situation that might have felt like it was entirely in someone else's hands. So here we are at the threshold of integration, at the place where all of this information needs to become embodied wisdom rather than just interesting ideas. And what I need you to understand as we come to close of this message is that the decision your soulmate made 15 minutes ago is less important than the decision you're making right now, in this moment, as you take in these words and feel into your own heart and ask yourself what you truly want and what you're truly willing to do or not be in service of connection that has already asked so much of you. The truth that the angels keep whispering is that soulmate connections are not about finding someone who completes you, but about finding someone who challenges you to become more completely yourself. And every moment of tension, every decision they make that disappoints you, or confuses you, or makes you wait longer than you wanted to wait, these are all invitations to come back to your own center, to your own life, to your own path of becoming. And the great irony is that the more fully you accept those invitations, the more you stop obsessing about their choices and start making powerful choices of your own, the more magnetic you become, the more you embody the frequency that makes their decision 15 minutes from now or 15 days from now move in the direction of yes rather than maybe or not yet. This isn't about playing games or pretending not to care when you do care. It's about genuinely reclaiming your energy from the future and bringing it back into the present, into your body, into your life as it actually is right now, with or without them in the way you want them to be. And when you do this, when you really do this, something alchemical happens in the space between you. The charge changes, the dynamic shifts, and often that's when the very thing you stopped desperately grasping for finally becomes possible. Your soulmate made a decision 15 minutes ago, and that decision rippled through the field you share. But you're making decisions every moment, with every thought you think and every emotion you feel and every action you take or don't take. And your decisions are just as powerful, just as significant, just as capable of changing everything. If you want continued guidance on navigating this connection with wisdom and grace, stay close to these teachings because the journey doesn't end here. There's more unfolding, more to understand, more support available as you walk this path. The angels haven't finished speaking. Your soulmate hasn't finished choosing, and you haven't finished becoming who you need to be to hold the love you're calling in. So let this moment be a beginning rather than an ending. Let it be the moment you stop waiting for someone else to decide your worth and started knowing it yourself. Let it be the moment the mystery deepened rather than resolved. Because the best love stories aren't the ones where everything gets wrapped up neatly. They're the ones where two people keep choosing each other through all the uncertainty, all the fear, all the moments when it would be easier to walk away. And your story is still being written, still unfolding, still waiting to see what you'll both decide in all the 15-minute increments still to come.